The topics that we are going to cover in this lecture are resistor, inductor, capacitor, and then we'll move on to KCL and KVL. The first topic is resistor. This is a resistor connected with a voltage source Vs. The current flowing through it is I. Let's say the potential difference across R is V. This is potential difference or effect. The cause for this effect is this Vs, or we can say EMF. The power dissipated by this resistance R is I square R. W is equal to I square RT. This is heat dissipated. The property of the resistance is that it opposes the current, or it is a friction to flow of electrons. It converts the electric energy, that is I, to heat energy, that is W, or we can say heat. Now I will discuss the Ohm's law. Let's consider a conductor with length L and area of cross section is A. The current entering in the conductor is I. This is J, current density, which will be equal to I upon A, current upon area. Unit is ampere per meter square. This is E, electric field. That is volt per unit length, V upon L. Unit is volt per meter. This is conductivity. Sigma, which is equal to 1 upon rho. Rho is resistivity. Rho is resistivity. Unit is mho per meter. R is resistance, which is equal to rho L upon A. Unit is ohm. J is directly proportional to E, electric field. We can also write it as J is equal to sigma E. This is first form of Ohm's law. We know that J is equal to I upon A, sigma is 1 upon rho, E is into V by L. It implies that V is equal to rho L by A into I, which is equal to Ri. So V is equal to Ri. This is second form of Ohm's law. Let's introduce one more term, that is G, which is equal to 1 upon R. Unit is mho or Siemens. G is conductance. So I is equal to GV. This is third form. We can also write V is equal to R dq by dt. Q is charge. I can be written as dq by dt. This is fourth form. I am writing two statements here. First is I is directly proportional to Vs, and second is V is directly proportional to I. Vs is EMF, source voltage. V is potential difference across any resistor R. I is dependent upon EMF Vs, and potential difference PD is dependent upon I, and also V is directly proportional to R. So it also depends upon resistance value R. But Vs is independent of current and resistance value. Let's take an example to justify these statements. There are two resistances, 5 ohm and 6 ohm. The voltage source Vs is 11 volts. Current is I. Let's calculate I is equal to 11 divided by 5 plus 6, which is equal to 1 ampere. If we want to calculate the potential difference across 5 and 6 ohm, so P d5 is equal to current I, that is 1 ampere, into resistance 5 ohm, which is equal to 5 volts. This is 5 volts. P d6, potential difference across 6 ohm, which is equal to 1 into 6, which is equal to 6 volts. This is 6 volts. So we can clearly see that I is dependent upon EMF 11 volts, but 11 volts EMF is independent of current and resistance values, but the potential difference across 5 and 6 ohms are dependent upon the current value, that is 1 ampere, and resistances that are 5 and 6 ohm. Now let's solve some questions. This is the first question. A 2 ampere current source is given and this circuit is given. We have to calculate the power delivered by the current source. Let's mark the nodes here. This is A, this is B. This is short circuited, so this is also A. This is short circuited, so this is also B. Now we can see that the total resistance of this branch is 9 ohm, which is connected between nodes A and B. Similarly, the total resistance of this branch is 9 ohm, which is connected between nodes A and B. The total resistance of this branch is 9 ohm, which is connected between A and B. So these three branches are connected in parallel. So I can redraw the circuit as 2 ampere, 5 ohm and 3 branches, each of 9 ohm. Now the equivalent resistance will be this 2 ampere, 5 ohm, 3 branches each of 9 ohm, so resistance will be 9 by 3, which is equal to 3 ohms. So the total resistance will be 8 ohm, 2 amperes, and this is 8 ohm, 5 plus 3. So the potential across this 8 ohm resistance will be 2 into 8, 16 volts. The potential difference across current source will also be 16 volts. So the power delivered by the current source will be equal to the current 2 ampere into the voltage across it, which is 16 volts, will be equal to 32 watt. In the next question, we have been given this circuit, 1 ohm resistance, 1 ohm, 1 ohm, 1 ohm, 1 ohm, 1 ohm up to the infinity. This unit is repeated up to the infinity. So we have to find the R equivalent. If I do not consider this unit, then also up to the infinity, this will give the R equivalent. So I can replace this whole circuit up to the infinity with R equivalent. So I will redraw the circuit. 1 ohm, 1 ohm, and replacement of this whole circuit up to the infinity with R equivalent. This is also R equivalent. These two are in parallel, so it can be redrawn as 1 ohm R equivalent divided by 1 plus R equivalent. This is R equivalent. So R equivalent is equal to 1 plus R equivalent divided by 1 plus R equivalent. This equation will result into a quadratic equation. R equivalent square minus R equivalent minus 1 is equal to 0. Coefficient C is equal to minus 1, B is equal to minus 1, A is equal to 1. So the roots are R equivalent will be equal to minus B, 1 plus minus under root B square, 1 minus 4AC. Minus 4AC is minus 4 into minus 1 into 1, which is equal to 4 divided by 2A, which is 2 into 1 is 2. The R equivalent can only be positive, so R equivalent will be equal to 1 plus under root 5 by 2. This is the answer. The next topic is inductor. We'll discuss inductor. First we'll have to go through the magnetic field, flux, linkages and other things. If we are given a conductor with a current I flowing through it, then it will generate a magnetic field around it, whose direction will be decided by the right hand thumb rule. this current I is varying. The single conductor will generate a weak magnetic field. But if we are given a conductor like this, then it will generate a strong magnetic field. The current is same I, because it will generate a group of flux lines. This is a voltage source V, current flowing is I, and this is an inductor. The EMF generated in this inductor is directly proportional to d phi by dt. Phi is flux. The flux that is in this inductor. The rate of change of flux will give the EMF generated. It implies that E is equal to minus N d phi by dt. N is number of turns. Minus sign signifies Lenz's law, which states that the EMF generated will oppose its cause. So the cause of this EMF generation is rate of change of flux. So I put this minus sign, and this V will be equal to N d phi by dt, which is same as E but without minus sign, as the cause of this EMF generation is V. I can also write V as d psi by dt. Psi is equal to N phi. Psi is flux linkage. I can also write V is equal to L d I by dt, as psi is directly proportional to phi and phi is directly proportional to I. So from these two equations, psi is directly proportional to I. It implies that psi can be written as L I. I replace this psi as Li. So L is equal to V upon di by dt, voltage upon rate of change of current. Now psi is equal to N phi. From this equation, psi is also equal to Li. From these two equations, I can write N phi is equal to Li. So L is equal to N phi by I. Henry. Henry is SI unit of inductance L. Since phi is directly proportional to I, therefore L is equal to constant. Now I will discuss the two conditions, linear and non-linear. First I will discuss linear. Let's consider a circuit with voltage source Vs, varying voltage source. Current supplied is I, and this is inductor L. We are using air core. We know that L is equal to N phi by I, as phi is directly proportional to I. So if I is increased by 10%, phi is also increased by 10%. If I is increased by 90%, phi is also increased by 90%. So phi is directly proportional to I. Phi and I varies equally, then L is a constant. This is a constant. So the plot of phi versus I is a straight line with slope is equal to constant. We know that V is equal to L di by dt. L is a constant, so the slope of V and di by dt will also be a a straight line with slope is equal to constant. The next condition is non-linear. When inductor value changes with current. We'll see how. Again, the voltage source is used as Vs, varying voltage source supplying current I. This time we are using an iron core. L is equal to n phi by I. If I is increased by 10%, phi is also increased by 10%. If I is increased by 60%, phi is also increased by 60%. If I is increased by 70%, then phi will not increase. It will be a constant. This is a state of saturation. The iron core gets saturated. Then the plot of phi versus I will initially be a straight line, then it becomes constant. This is phi versus I. As V is equal to L di by dt, when phi becomes constant, then L will decrease as I is increased. So the value of L changes with current. Then the plot of V and di by dt will behave same as the plot of phi versus I. V di by dt. The plot will be same as phi versus I. Now I am introducing a term, permeability. Permeability is mu, which is equal to mu naught into mu r. Mu naught is absolute permeability, whose value is 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 Henry per meter. Mu r is relative permeability. What is permeability? Permeability is a property of the medium in which magnetic field exists. I have taken this voltage source Vs, which is varying, supplying current I. This is the core, whose length is L and area of cross section is A. L can also be written as L is equal to n square mu naught mu r A divided by L. From this equation, L is directly proportional to n square if all other terms are constant. L is also directly proportional to n square d square. D square comes from area. D is diameter. This equation will be used in many numericals. L is equal to n square divided by L upon A into mu naught mu r. This L upon A into mu naught mu r is reluctance. S is equal to reluctance, which is equal to L upon A mu naught mu r. So L is equal to n square divided by S. This equation is also important. This proportionality is important. M is equal to n1 n2 divided by S. M is mutual inductance. All these small formulas are very important from the point of view of problems. V is equal to L di by dt. This is fifth form of Ohm's law. This is time invariant. L is time invariant here. I can also write V is equal to L di by dt plus I dl by dt. In this case, L is time variant. From this, I can be written as I is equal to 1 by L integral minus infinity to t v dt. This is sixth form of Ohm's law, this equation. We know that power P is equal to VI, so P is equal to L di by dt into I. V is L di by dt. So if we want to calculate the work done, W is equal to integral P dt. It implies that W is equal to integral L di by dt dot I dt. dt will be cancelled, so work is equal to integral L I di. So it is equal to, so it implies that W is equal to half L I square. This is the energy stored. This equation is for instantaneous power. Here is a point to be noted. This is capacitor. It stores energy as potential energy. No flow of current. Because it acts as open circuit at steady state in case of DC circuit. Here charge is stored in the capacitor. For an inductor, it stores energy as kinetic energy. Magnetic field. It acts as short circuit at steady state for a DC circuit. Now here are some points of conclusion. First point is, we know that VL is equal to L di by dt. If di by dt is equal to 0, then VL is also 0. So the I is constant. Di by dt is equal to 0. So in that case, if VL is equal to 0, inductor behaves as short circuit. So under a steady state condition for DC source and steady state condition only, inductor behaves as short circuit. Now the second point of conclusion. As V is equal to L di by dt, V will be equal to infinity if dt tends to 0. T is equal to L by R is the time constant. For a RL circuit. Inductor does not allow sudden change of current, because for sudden change of current, infinite voltage source is required, which is practically not possible. The exception is of only voltage impulse function. And practical inductor also has finite value of time constant, that is L by R. The third point of conclusion is about the resistance R and capacitance that exists with inductor. This is an ideal inductor with resistance R is equal to 0. This is practical inductor with R of in milliohms. For an inductor, there exists an inter-turn capacitance or self-capacitance represented like this practically. For simplification, we can represent this capacitance in parallel with R and L. This is R, this is L. So the interturn capacitance can be represented in parallel as C. XL is equal to 2 pi FL and XC is equal to 1 upon 2 pi FC. Z1 is equal to, this is Z1, and for this Z2. Z1 is equal to R plus J XL. Z2 is equal to minus J XC. Z equivalent will be equal to Z1 Z2 divided by Z1 plus Z2. This interturn capacitance exists only at high frequency or high voltages, and due to this interturn capacitance, strength of magnetic field decreases. The next topic is capacitor. This is the capacitor. This is the air gap. The charge accumulated at this plate is positive and at this plate is negative. We know that Q is directly proportional to V for a capacitor. So Q is equal to CV. C is capacitance. C is equal to Q by V, coulomb per volts or farads. From this equation, dQ by dt is equal to C dV by dt after differentiating this equation. dQ by dt is I, which is equal to C dV by dt. It implies that C is equal to I upon dV by dt. This is seventh form of Ohm's law. This is time invariant. Now if I will write I is equal to C dV by dt plus V dC by dt, then this C is time variant. From this equation I can write V is equal to 1 upon C integral minus infinity to t I dt. This is 8th form of Ohm's law. We know that P is equal to Vi. It implies that P is equal to V. I can be written as C dV by dt. If we want to calculate the work done, then W is equal to integral P dt, which is equal to integral Vc dV by dt. From here, dt will be cancelled, and this will be equal to Cv dV. So W is equal to half Cv square. This is potential energy stored in the capacitor or electric field. Here also there are two conditions. First is linear. In this case, C is equal to Q by V, which is a constant. So if V is increased by 10%, then Q is also increased by 10%. If V is increased by 90%, then Q is also increased by 90%. C is equal to I upon dV by dt. From this equation, C is constant, so the slope of I versus dV by dt will also be a constant. I dV by dt, slope is constant. Similarly, slope for Q by V is also constant. Q V. Slope of Q versus V is slope is equal to constant. The second condition is non-linear. C is equal to Q by V is variable in this condition. That means charge not directly proportional to V. It implies that capacitance changes with respect to voltage magnitude. This is after saturation, when charge becomes constant. Now there are some conclusions. The first conclusion is that we know that I is equal to C dV by dt. So if dV by dt is equal to 0, then I will be equal to 0. That means an open circuit. A DC voltage source Vs is connected across R and C. Current is flowing I. If dV by dt is equal to 0, then V will be a constant. Under steady state condition for DC source, capacitor behaves as open circuit for DC source, and under steady state condition only, capacitor will be fully charged, so it gets saturated, then it will behave as open circuit. This Vs will be seen across capacitor because it gets open circuit, so I will be equal to 0, no voltage drop across R, so this voltage Vs across capacitor will be equal to the source voltage. Now the second point, as I is equal to C dV by dt, which will be equal to infinity if dt tends to 0. T is equal to RC, which is a time constant. A capacitor does not allow sudden change of voltage, because for sudden change of voltage, infinite source current is required, which is practically not possible. Exception is current impulse function. Also, practical capacitor has finite value of time constant, that is RC. The third conclusion is regarding the internal resistances of a capacitor. This is an ideal capacitor with R1 is equal to 0 and R2 is equal to infinite. This is a practical capacitor. This is R1 in series with capacitor and R2 in parallel of both of them. R1 is very less, R2 is very high. R1 causes dielectric loss, R2 causes leakage path resistance.